Should security guards render medical aid?
Check it out.
Check it out. All that legal stuff. So you're a security guard and you carry a valid EMT license as well. Should you help somebody who's having a medical emergency while you are on duty as a security guard? The answer seems simple, and it could go many different directions, but let's talk about what could happen if you do help somebody while you're on duty as a security guard. So you have been hired by a client to guard a location, and if there's a medical emergency somewhere nearby, if you go to assist in that, then you are taking your attention away from your client who's paying you to guard their assets. With that being said, you become distracted and put the client at risk. And for that reason, I would say no. Security guards, even though they may have qualifications to help, should not. Now, there is a law called the Good Samaritan Law. It exists in all 50 states. Each state has a slight variation, but the general idea of the Good Samaritan laws is that if anybody in good faith and not for any financial compensation helps somebody in an emergency, they cannot be held civilly liable for anything that they do wrong. And that's not gross negligence. So, can a security guard help somebody without getting into trouble? Maybe. But there's also the question of your employer. You're wearing your employer's uniform, your employer's badges and patches, and there could be a reasonable assumption that when you approach someone to see if they need help, they assume that you are a professional on duty paid to provide aid, and they may agree to let you help them simply for that reason alone, not knowing that you're doing it as an individual. So while on duty as a security guard, if you make a mistake, that might open up your company to some sort of liability. And unless your company has specifically hired you to act as an EMT while being a security guard, I don't recommend that you do that, just because you're putting your company at risk. And chances are, if you were not hired specifically as a security guard / EMT, then chances are your company doesn't carry the additional liability insurance that would be required for someone who's acting as an EMT. And if you're a security company wanting to provide EMT services, there's a lot of things to consider. It's not just as simple as having your guards be EMT certified. You're going to have to provide ongoing trainings. You're going to have to track their licenses, make sure they're current on all their licenses and certifications. And you're going to have to carry an additional insurance for that. And all of that stuff it costs money. And chances are, if you're already running a company, you're not going to have the manpower, the resources to do all of that. You're going to have to hire an HR person to manage all of the licensing and all of that stuff. So while it's a great idea for a security company to offer that additional service and be very attractive to the clients, it is a lot of extra work. Also with security, I see that I think the biggest application for EMT services would be, say, patrol services in an HOA, for example, or warehouses, factories. In fact, a lot of canning factories, they actually require that their security guards have their EMT license as well. That's just a requirement of the job. So it is possible, but usually the aid that's rendered in those situations are to the employees of that facility that you're hired to work. So rendering aid, while there are the Good Samaritan laws, I think the basic gist of it is that you will put yourself at risk put your company at risk more so, I think. Um, and while I know that the nature of security guards is to help people, that's just in our nature. We do this job for a reason, and we want to serve people. We want to help people, and it's such a conflict for us to stand by and watch a medical emergency unfold and not do anything. But it's important to keep your eyes on your post and not abandon your post to help someone else. It is possible to render some assistance to the situation without actually leaving your post, and that's by giving verbal commands or verbal suggestions to people for self-aid. In some situations in a post that I worked before, I worked in a large warehouse shopping center, and had a large parking lot. And from time to time, there would be traffic collisions in the parking lot, or somebody would fall in a crosswalk, somebody would get hit by a car. And what I would do in that situation, even though I have EMT experience, I used to carry a valid EMT license. My primary objective at that point was to start directing traffic away from the area to avoid any further danger to the scene, to secure the scene, essentially. It was on the property that I was contracted to work, so that wasn't an issue, but my job was not to render aid. Now, the store, they had equipment, they had AEDs, and they had CPR certified managers. So I would get on the radio and I would call out and I'd say that, such and such happened. And then I would start to redirect traffic, say around the back of the building instead of through the front entrance. And and then I would ask if we were expecting any medical aid to arrive. And so then I would start clearing traffic so that they could access the scene safely and quickly. I think that's probably the primary goal of a security guard, is to secure the scene, especially if it's on your client's property. Secure the scene, make sure it's safe and that nothing further will happen. Once you're rendering medical aid, you can no longer focus your attention on anything else around you. It's very difficult to see what's going on around you because you're so focused on the person in front of you here. So I would say the short answer is no, unless your company has specifically contracted you to provide EMT services, then I would not recommend providing medical aid to anybody, even if you are trained. And then, there goes into the possibility too that because you have received training, you may be held to a higher standard. And if you do something wrong, you might be held liable in that case as well. I know that the Good Samaritan laws don't apply to emergency rooms or anywhere that medical aid is typically rendered. But if you're at a store location, then that's not considered a medical facility. So it's kind of like one of those gray areas. I mean, if you go on Google and search for this topic, there's not a lot of information out there, and it hasn't really been explored. So I think it would be beneficial for an attorney to review this and give their opinion. But as far as rendering medical aid, I just say I wouldn't do it, even though it would kill me inside to stand by and watch. However, if the situation is extreme, I might say to hell with my orders. I don't know. If it's a life or death situation, I just might jump in there and because I can't stand by and watch somebody's life pass away and me do nothing. But that's everybody's choice for themselves. You've got to make that decision for yourself. It could cost you your job, and could cost you some liability. You could be sued, or your company could be sued. They could lose their whole company. So just keep that in mind. Anyway, sorry I'm a little foggy today. I'm not feeling too well, a little under the weather. So hope you guys have a great day. Stay safe, and I'll catch you later.